Hey guys, it's your girl Basia. Welcome to the Basia TV Podcast coming to you from Naples, Florida. Today we're talking mental health. You do not want to miss this episode. I'll be talking to clinical psychologist Sanjoni Sethi, all the way from India. This is an important topic, and if you or anyone you know is suffering from mental health challenges, this is the episode for you. According to the National Library of Medicine in the USA, a global survey on mental stigma found that in developed countries, only 45% to 51% of respondents believe mental illness was similar to physical illness, and only 7% believe that mental illness could be overcome. Today's episode is crucial. If you or anyone you know is suffering from some form of mental illness, this is the episode for you. Subscribe and stay tuned. This is a good.
She is the #1 podcast host from the Caribbean, based in North America. Media Mogul and the legend agent to the biggest names in international cricket. This is Basia TV Podcast with Basia Powell. This episode is brought to you by 124 Nut Out Sports Agency. Welcome to the next level. Basia TV Podcast starts right now.
Her work is rooted in authenticity, compassion, and real conversation. Today, we're diving deep into a powerful topic: cultural perceptions of therapy. Why so many see therapy as for crazy people, and how we can begin to change that narrative. Welcome, Sanjoni Sethi. Welcome to the Basia TV Podcast. Sanjoni.
Thank you, Asha.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience. Guys, you have no idea what we've been through to bring this to you, but I know it's going to be a good one. And it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in such a long time. How is Delhi, India, my friend?
Oh, we are getting cold and we are dying in pollution.
Oh my. Oh my. That time of the year, it's very gray outside, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, welcome. I think our interview is long overdue. And I know if anyone could shine light on this topic, especially as it relates to the stigma of therapy, the cultural misperceptions, you name it, no one can do it better than Sanjoni Sethi. So it's an honor to have you. Let's get ready to rumble.
Thank you so much, Pasha. I just want to say it's likewise. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, talk to you. And there's always been a learning in speaking with you. I love how passionately you work.
Thank you. I do my best, but I don't do it alone. So let's be clear. I am surrounded by a great team of producers and just people who believe in what we do. We do it for purpose, not for prosperity.
That's important.
But today's topic is something that it's been leaning on my heart for some time. As I started at the top of the show and I spoke about the global survey on the stigma and how it found in developed countries, 45% to 51% of respondents believe mental illness was similar to physical illness, which means the rest of the population feels otherwise. Sanjoni, what do you think that says about how far we still have to go in changing how people understand mental health and mental health recovery?
Yeah. We've come a long way. I'm going to start with that. And we still have a long path. Not to walk, not to run, to crawl. So I want to say that, especially when I'm bringing in and I'm coming from India, I have to tell you that we're still at the crawling stage. from an extreme parallel, absolutely polarized end, not parallel, absolutely polarized end of seeing people absolutely crazy, thinking that people don't have intellectual capacity at all, to now at least understanding mental health can exist. Forget people can receive therapy or can talk about medication here,
Yeah.
institutionalization here, but we can talk about it. It exists. So
Yeah.
I say we've come somewhere, and then
Yeah.
we have another stage, another journey to start making towards that.
Yeah.
But having said that, um, it still breaks my heart. It is scary to see that we are talking about fitness, we're talking about health, we're talking about so much care everywhere, environment, but we forget very crucial part of all areas of our life involves emotions, mental well-being. We have gym for the body, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems to go and talk about mental gym for the
Mm-hmm.
mind. We all
Yeah.
resist.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Correct. Um, I want to go to some stats. You know, in 2024, the Mental Health America organization published some of these stats, and it says 11.3% of youth ages 12 to 17 in the US experience a major depressive episode with severe impairments in the past year, meaning it's severely impacted their functioning at work, school, or home. That's a total of 2.8 million youth. Around, and again, according to Wikipedia, around one in every eight people worldwide live with a mental health disorder, yet globally, up to 85% of people in lower income countries, which would include India and the Caribbean and others, and about 50% even in wealthier nations, never receive any form of treatment. Sanjoni, when you look at those numbers, what do you think is at the heart of this gap? How much of it is about access and cost? And how much is about how people perceive therapy itself? Tell me.
Um, I'm going to say one thing very clearly, which is we all have choices to make, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
when we speak of money affordability, it is true we have very few psychologists, psychiatrists specifically working in the field.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for India, we have our stats which talks about at least we have only around 0.07% of psychologists that are available for like 100,000 population. You know, if you look at that number, that's nothing,
Can you
right?
repeat that stat again for our listeners and viewers? Because I myself, I need to understand. You have about points, how many per 100,000?
0.7, roughly 0.7.
That's
And you
alarming.
can increase a little bit and you'll have psychiatrists who prescribe medication. So what I'm trying to come at is that um, we're very unaware about, we're not so informed about the resources, the need, why this field,
Yeah.
right? And yet if you see the social media algorithm pushes it,
Yeah.
and we're still very clueless about it.
Yeah.
Having said that, I still think there are lots of factors. I won't lean or let myself just get dragged into any one. I believe that we do have at some areas, at some places, like I said, lack of awareness, lack of knowledge. At
Mm-hmm.
some areas, we do have lack of trusted resource people who can
Mm-hmm.
connect us and bridge the gap between how do I go to a psychiatrist, when do I go
Mm-hmm.
to a psychiatrist, when do I go
Mm-hmm.
to a therapist, how long do I need to go, in
Yeah.
for that treatment.
Yeah.
Having said that, for some part of a certain population, I would also put out that therapy is either a cost or an investment. Now, if you're okay and you can afford a gym every day with lots of luxuries you may use, you may not use, you could utilize therapy in the same mindset.
So, to be clear, you are perhaps saying that you would like the general population around the world. And I think this brings me to my other one where we talk about preventative, but to treat therapy as a preventative sort of maintenance, the same way we go to the gym to manage our physique, weight loss, etc. Your recommendation is that we include it as a part of our self-care pie chart, so to speak.
Yes, self-care pie chart, a mental, emotional gym pie chart, where you're not the only one who's working out alone, and that gets you to spiral down to all just your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings. You have somebody who witnesses your journey, just like your gym trainer does it at the gym. You also have groups in therapy, so you have other people at times, and you also have somebody who you can banter and say, look, this is working well, this is not. Just like you go to the gym and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've got the jawline, I better work on the shoulders now. So you've got the same, you've got that, and that mental
Yeah.
gymming is needed.
Yeah.
Why not?
You know, would you say it's because people can't see the brain or the mind? So they don't think it's something that can be broken, something that needs to be treated well? Would you say that? Is it
um,
because it's not as visible as our hands and our legs and our tummy?
so I would, few years ago, had you asked me that, I would have a clear answer to say absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do believe now that there are many signs, there are many stories, there are many observations that we could be, that are visible signs of any illness, or even not, if I don't categorize illness, somebody not feeling okay.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I think where I'm mostly drawn into is that why people are not so open about therapy, is somewhere we've really highlighted that crying, talking about emotions, or needing some stranger, a therapist or a psychiatrist is a stranger. So needing a stranger to work your problems and your emotional problems out,
Yeah.
um, you know why? That's not care, that's weakness. Something wrong with you. Why are you going to a stranger? You want to sit with a stranger. Why? What can they
But
do?
why go to a doctor if you're having chest pains? He's a stranger too.
Absolutely. But we're so familiar with that because chest pain leads, and you can see direct, either you witnessed it, you've heard a story, you've seen in a movie, you've seen maybe at home, that chest pain not treated, not given the medications, doesn't require too much focus, self-focused talking. I can die if I don't treat it now. And
Yeah.
it's scary that people think that in so many years that suicide was also, you're weak, you can't take care of your everyday, so you're going to go and escape it. But now we're changing that, right? So I
Yeah.
think the perception in some communities, some areas, some countries is changing. But I
Yeah.
can tell you, Basha, for India, we've not only for India, in fact, if you look at the WHO facts, they will tell you that the recent suicide age group has shifted to as young as 18 to 30-year olds. That is scary.
Yeah. And I don't have the exact numbers, and I apologize for that in advance, but I saw some statistics this weekend that also showed a high percentage of doctors who commit suicide. I mean, we take doctors for granted. Like we think, well, you're a doctor, so you're well. You even think that they don't get sick, you know, if we're being honest. But I was so alarmed that I really should have, in preparation for this interview, I really should have made a note of the exact percentage and I'm not sure if it just represented the USA or, you know, from the World Health Organization, but I was alarmed by how many medical doctors actually commit suicide because of how many whatever factors of exhaustions, everything that's associated with what's put on them in the actual profession. I was stunned.
Yeah, it's even here.
In
We are
India?
also, yes, we're also facing that
Yeah.
mostly with training doctors, the kind of responsibility, the kind of working hours, the work shift conditions.
Yeah.
It's They don't have proper hygiene at the hospitals. They don't have proper time shifts. We're short of staff. Our hospitals are flooded with people, and yet we don't have enough
Yeah.
resources, medications, people to give them that care. So
It's really
it is,
sad. It's really sad.
and we also have some of our doctors at the receiving end of lots of physical violence if they aren't treating patients as per what the family wants.
Wow. In India? Wow.
During
Wow.
COVID time, we had many cases that were coming through where people would just beat up the doctors.
What?
Yes, and it's a graphically very, very violent image to look at.
This is unbelievable, Sanjoni. That's unacceptable, you know? I want to look at some stats here. It says over 1 in 4 youth are lacking preventative care. On the topic of preventative care, 28.6% of adolescents ages 12 to 17 did not have a preventative health visit in 2022 and 2023. That total over 7 million young people in the United States. Studies show that in many cultures, people still associate therapy with being crazy or weak. Even in societies that talk more openly about mental health, you know, that old stigma still lingers, as we mentioned. From your experience, Sanjoni, what lies beneath that belief? When someone says therapy is for crazy people, what's really being said or feared here?
One emotion, shame.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a very difficult emotion to sit with, cope with, or even to feel it.
yeah,
It makes you very quickly want to submit yourself into somebody else's narrative, behavior, perception, and we all do it to feel safe.
yeah,
So one of the reasons why therapy is still considered, thinking that what's wrong with you? Why are you so weak? Are you crazy? Somewhere we're saying that, like I said earlier, we aren't ready to receive care or take care of ourselves here, because it seems that you're ready to speak to a stranger, but
yeah,
what happened to friends and family? A lot of
yeah,
time it shows you're going to therapy, you don't have parents to speak with, you don't have family to discuss it with,
yes,
you don't have friends, you can just discuss it and solve it.
yeah,
And that seems like, wow, somebody judges me saying I have nobody, I'm a loner, or I'm lonely, I'm alone, and I'm going to seek a therapist's opinion. And that judgment is very scary.
yeah,
It is also scary that it is when somebody gets to know of in a community, the family is seeking therapy, a couple is seeking therapy. What's
yeah.
wrong in your marriage, right? What's wrong with your child? Oh, something
Yeah.
must be wrong in this
Something has
family.
to be wrong. It can't be preventative.
Yes. And
Well, I would just like to put it out there that my husband and I, we have preventative, and what's the reverse of preventative? When something is wrong, we go to. And when something is right, we still go. How about that?
That's true. And I'm
Yeah,
happy that
we
you're
go to
saying that.
therapy. Because then one day it could get broken and then we wouldn't know how to fix it, right? But
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
wanted to I want to go back to what you said on a serious note. Um, with regards to the idea that therapy, the stigma, the cultural stigma in many countries, that therapy is for crazy people or weak people. You said it comes down to shame. Now, I wonder, right? I just wonder, just work with me. I'm thinking about myself in my early adulthood when I didn't think I needed therapy. And I have never been someone who live with shame of any kind. Like I think I've always really been in touch with myself that I could say, hey, this is bothering me. That's bothering me. I'm about to tell you why I thought that I didn't need it. Now you can tell me, no, Basha. It probably was shame disguised like that. In my early adulthood, like in my early 20s, leading up to 30, I just felt like I was a very strong person. I felt like I couldn't be broken. I was one of those people who didn't imagine the brain as like the other parts of my body. I I felt that I was smart and I felt that clearly my brain could have managed a lot, right? So I felt like if I'm not feeling well and I deal with the situation. Therefore, I didn't need therapy. I am pretty certain, Sanjoni, it was not because I went to therapy for another reason, but I just didn't feel that my brain could be broken. Don't you have people like me? I swear to you, it has nothing to do with shame. If I needed therapy, if I felt then, because I go to therapy now, because when I realized that my brain could be broken, I went. So we're talking about the preventative people here. When
Yeah.
I thought my brain couldn't be broken, I didn't go. I was like, I don't need a therapist. But it was not because of shame. Is that possible?
Of course, that's
Okay.
possible. And I would
Okay.
encourage, and I would leave you with saying, like a very brief preview of my therapy space would be, I've received you. So I've received
Uh,
someone else saying that, it's shameful. My family is ashamed of me in therapy. And I'm
yeah.
receiving you saying that when I was younger, when I was in my early adulthood, I
Yeah.
believed my brain couldn't be fragmented, couldn't be broken. And I'm
Yeah.
strong to whatever comes my way,
Yeah.
I'll hold it. And my question then is that, wow, where did you learn that from? Where did you learn that belief that the brain didn't need more hands, more faces, more
Yeah.
sources?
You where would I feel as though I always had to rely on myself. Do you really want to start this therapy session with me here, Sanjoni?
Not at all. But like I said, the
I might have to book a session. But I feel as though I always had to rely on myself. That's back then. I mean, I'm not there now, but I was like, yeah, I got this. I got this figured out. Like, I don't want to bother nobody. I'm good. I could fix this. But
so
it was
Basha,
not because of that. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here just for
Mhm.
a moment, not for therapy, but to tell people that there's nothing wrong in considering, thinking, and wanting to be self reliant at any age. What's important for us to wonder actively is where we talk about prevention.
Yeah.
On certain days when I'm not able to self care and be self reliant, not be self sufficient,
Mm-hmm.
what do I really worry would happen to me on those days?
Mm-hmm.
Though, for those are the days that we need to be in a room with a therapist or maybe with
And
something
I
else.
want to be clear um, with you and our viewers and listeners that I no longer feel that way. I didn't understand at that time that that preventative care for mental health um, maintenance, just like a car need oil, was necessary.
Yes,
That's all I'm saying.
absolutely.
I'm saying that
Yes.
I didn't realize that preventative was just as important as cure when it came to my mental health. Because you know what? Because I'm getting, this is like a therapy session, Sanjoni. I'm getting to the bottom of this. You know why I felt that way? Because I grew up in a society that I only saw people who were diagnosed with a mental health disorder get treatment.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the message that went to my brain as a child and into my early adulthood is, well, your brain is not broken or nothing is wrong with you, because you don't need mental health care, not realizing that many of them ended up there because they didn't have preventative treatment. And of course, years later, now that I'm a woman of a particular age, I see it differently.
Absolutely. And I want to
Yeah.
highlight here, Basha,
Yeah.
that where we started our first conversation, I want to revisit that it's true. The stats are showing us that we still have a long way to go. But having said
Mhm.
that, if you look at different fields, even
Mhm.
our field of mental health, it started with understanding and exploring people to see if they fit into a category of diagnosis. And
Mhm.
and maybe we can start thinking about that we needed some starting point, and the
Mhm.
diagnosis became the starting point.
Yeah.
The categorization of people saying, hey, what's wrong with them, became the starting point.
Yeah.
The problem is if we stick to that. But I'm glad that at some areas there is movement. We're not
Yeah.
sticking to just what's the diagnosis, what's wrong
Yeah.
with you. We're now saying and moving, saying that
Yeah.
can we take care of us before we get there? There are some states, there are some conditions that are
Yeah.
diagnosable, and there are some situations we may not need a diagnosis. We could just sit with a person's narrative and
Yeah.
story and
Yeah.
equally care for them. So I'm happy
Yeah.
that we've started somewhere, but the idea that we are able to move and
Yeah.
change narratives, change the way we look at things, I think that's where I am happy and it's important.
So I would ask you this just as I would ask my own therapist. Do you have a therapist? Good. And that's important for people to know. It's important for people to know that therapists also have therapists.
We don't only have therapists, let me highlight that for you today. We have a personal therapist. Since I'm married, I prefer and I choose to go for couples therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a supervisor
Mm-hmm.
personally who I work with for my case discussion, which also means at times I work on what's coming up and what's getting triggered in me as a therapist. So again, I get into personal therapy and supervision. I
Mm-hmm.
work with a group supervisor as well. So we're a group of psychologists and therapists working with a senior therapist. Again, we're highlighting client cases and ourselves. And then we
Mm-hmm.
work in reading circles and groups where we read literature on psychology and we see ourselves and our patients and go back to personal therapy, supervision, and trainings again.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly working on ourselves as well, as much
Yeah.
as we work with our patients.
That's amazing. And I think that's something that we need to say very loud in this episode, so that people understand that even therapists, even medical doctors, even health practitioners understand the need for therapy, preventative care.
I
Yeah.
can't function. I can't function without my therapist. Not saying I'm dependent on her in a healthy way. I like to see her face.
Yeah. I like that. And do therapists get depressed and have anxiety and all those things like we do?
100%. Therapist, we have a role in a day, couple of hours where we're a therapist by
Mm.
skill set. But
Yeah.
before all of that, we're humans. So we feel everything that we talk about in our sessions with all our clients, all our patients. I felt depressed, I felt angry, I felt rageful, I felt anxiety, I
Mm-hmm.
felt low. I've
Mm-hmm.
also gone through days saying, I don't want to work, I just want a
Mm-hmm.
break. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Um, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I'm glad that you've been through those things so that you'll understand what we are going through, so that you'll be able to speak about it, not just medically, but as a human as well.
Yeah. That's what we're
Yeah.
looking for with each other in a therapy
Yeah.
space to
Yeah.
connect.
That's really important to note, as we address this really very difficult topic. you know. So you've worked with women, children, men in very different settings, from schools to hospitals in India. And culture, of course, shapes how each group views emotional support. How do these perceptions differ across gender and age in India specifically? For example, do you find that men face different barriers when it comes to seeking therapy compared to women and children? Um, what's
Yes.
your thoughts on that?
I'll start with children.
Mhm.
It's the easiest to understand because children seek and they want to have control and power like all other human beings. But
Yeah,
since they are compared to an adult, they have somebody who makes decisions for them,
yeah.
and there is a power dynamic that comes in, and we face a lot of challenge when working with families and children and
Mhm.
adolescents, that a lot of times decisions are driven by parents,
Mhm.
and the child or the adolescent in place of therapy
Mhm.
is looking at something different. They want to work around something very different, and the parents may have a different goal, a different agenda, all with good intent,
Yeah.
but it can be different. So there can be different barriers that can come in
Mhm.
there when we talk about that. When we talk about the gender, I
Mm.
also I also feel that in terms of now that I'm mostly into independent practitioner,
Mhm.
in my independent practice, I've seen, and I'm happy to say that I've seen a change in numbers, that men are equally stepping up and seeking help, care, support with
That is good
therapists,
to know. Yeah.
not just with male therapists. They are, and with that, congratulations to at least India, because we have also now started seeing many male therapists come up.
Very nice.
Uh,
Very nice.
so
That makes me feel so good.
that, but having said
Mhm.
that, I am going to shed some light on, definitely, Basha. I see a change in trend in terms of men able to come out and say, um, it's been scary for them, where they've been told always to, in order to showcase their masculinity, it's important for them to not talk about feelings.
Hmm.
um,
Wow.
that's
That's very
that's
sad.
that is.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of them didn't know what to do with what they feel. Where do they put it? So they
Mm.
put it inside, and they're
Yeah.
supposed to zip it,
Wow.
and that is there. They also have come with scripts socially, conditionally, with the fact that you got to earn, you got to make decisions because you earn, your authority because you're a man.
Yeah. And we know India's culture when it comes to gender inequality and things of that nature. But I'm sure it applies to how they'll be perceived if they were to show any form of emotions that can be connected to weakness.
Yes. Yes, and the fact that how could you be dependent, or seek support, even if it's through partner, even if
Yeah.
it's through friends or colleagues.
Hmm.
Uh, so you're always supposed to be fine. You're always supposed to be okay. You're not supposed to talk about emotions. You're supposed to continuously earn. You're supposed to be responsible. That's a lot for a
Yeah.
man. um, and sometimes I joke with my partner. I'm like, men are like Google. You guys are supposed to know and have everything.
Yeah.
So that's how I push my husband, like, go for therapy. Don't be my Google at all. Go for therapy.
Yeah.
but
That's funny.
women also were changing in time, like I said. We're
Mm.
all of a sudden noticing how we're going through a lot of women now.
Mm.
Earlier, women were part of therapy.
Yeah.
However, they were very dependent on partners or parents to provide
Yeah.
for the therapy space when I talk about
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
uh, we also saw a lot of shift in how now women are emoting emotions, to be in touch with anger, not suppress it, to be in touch with anger and say that I want to get it out and I want to use my anger. I see a lot of therapy work going towards that. so that we don't have generation to generation women feeling displaced from one home to another marital home, feeling dependency from parents to maybe partners, or to feeling that they need to suppress their care, their need, and their wants, and not voice it out. And we see that women have suffered in even if you go back and date it to psychoanalytical form of therapy work, the literature talks about how, as a cultural across globe, not just India, women and men are seen as a gender that can ask and take space, and you can see it in their body how men sit as well. And for women, there is culturally a notion and a narrative that you are self-sacrificing, which means that you charge less, you don't ask your wants, and you keep suppressing, which is across the globe. So for women to take back that and say, I'm going to ask and I'm going to take more space, I think I see that, and it's been a struggle when I work with women to get there. It's scary for us, even for myself, to charge my fees every year.
Yeah.
I keep going through circles.
Really? Why?
Um, my script growing up has been very different. Like I said, my script growing up has been that you're in a field where it's charity. Why would you earn, or why would you ask for that much? You're a woman. You're married. Let your partner earn. Why do you worry about money? And now I question that.
Me
I'm a
too.
bachelor, double masters, moving ahead for PhD, and yeah, and I worked really hard for my skill set and my
You
time.
have.
So I'm going to earn for that and ask for that.
Yeah. You deserve it. I think that's one thing. I remember meeting you more than 7 years ago. And at that point, it became very apparent to me that despite the fact that we grew up in separate parts of the world, we all experience the same conditioning as women, which is another reason why I go to therapy to unpack that. Our conditioning has been really difficult. We carry a lot, you know? And as in India, because as you know, I spent a lot of time in India as a sports agent. I see where none of us were really raised as women to take care of ourselves in the right way, to put ourselves first. It's
Yeah,
something I still work on, and I know you're working on that too. That's something we
absolutely.
bonded on. Yeah, but let's talk about this. Is something that I know someone explained this to me one time, and for some reason it didn't stick in my head. Right? But what's the difference? Can you explain to us the difference between therapy and psychotherapy? Explain to me, my listeners and my viewers, how do we know the difference between each type and which one we need?
Okay. Um, so psychotherapist or therapy, it's actually the same thing. Psychotherapist is a global umbrella term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when we talk about therapists, and before I even jump into the different types of therapy, we have a
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist provides us with medication, and they provide us and take care of us in terms of medication. Okay, uh, in terms of now psychotherapy, it's largely talk therapy, and psychotherapist is an umbrella term, so you will have many other different categories when we talk about therapists.
Yeah.
In terms of a psychologist, a
Mm-hmm.
psychologist is a psychotherapist who studied their bachelor's, their master's in psychology. And they may have gone into training for a particular form of psychotherapy modality, maybe like a cognitive behavior therapy, maybe they've specialized in trauma work therapy, and
Oh,
so on
okay.
and so forth. I
Right.
am in India a clinical psychologist, which means that my governing body or a registration body gives me a registration or a certificate, and my training and my residency program and trainings have involved me to study in order to work with patients who need medical attention in psychiatry, which means I work very closely with a psychiatrist, and I can diagnose them because I use clinical assessments, psychological assessments, to work with some patients to understand clear-cut diagnostic understandings. Having said that, I further train apart from that in specific modalities and therapies to work as a therapist, to just conduct talk therapy sessions as well, and may not just only work in terms of frame of diagnosis. So you have psychotherapists, psychologists, clinical psychologists, they do assessments. You have family therapists, they work with the families in terms of a therapy modality. So that's how our trainings define us as the specialists or experts that we are in psychotherapy frame.
Yeah. Okay. I I understand it a lot more. I can't say that I understand every part of it, but that's where you come in, you know. Um what do you think it will take globally to shift how therapy is viewed, from something people hide to something we all embrace as a part of caring for mental health?
Yeah.
What would it be?
I'm going to give you quick five things that I personally feel we need to start changing at micro and macro levels. First one, individual therapy work. If we go in individual therapy, just like, in maybe a party or a social gathering, when we say, oh, the other day I was talking to a friend and they said that to me, we can start bringing in what your therapist told you and how openly you want to share it, which would sound like, oh, the other day, my therapist told me this and I learned that about myself. So normalizing therapy and the fact that I visit a therapist, that is one at a very individual level. In schools, starting early, I do believe we have many lectures or classes, we
Yeah.
reserve time for, where we're teaching children lots of things. We teach them back touch, good touch, stranger danger.
Yeah.
I really have a dream if we could, in across the globe, have a mandatory 30 to 45 minutes every single day where we could teach a distress regulation skill to
Yeah.
children. And how wonderful that be, that when you teach a child how to contain themselves and regulate emotions, by the time they are adults, they have this whole basket of knowing, that one. Today I'm feeling really upset. I'm going to use this one and soothe myself. And that I want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe at college and at higher educational institutes, we need very gentle shifts of not just suicidal crisis helplines, but we need people who can
Yeah.
witness our emergencies. We are lacking that.
Yeah.
And at a very, very macro level, maybe organizations can start including sick leaves as well as overwhelming leaves. The day you feel overwhelmed, you may not want to show up because you need to take care.
Yeah.
So, and I really,
Personally, as a business person, I think that's very difficult to qualify. I believe in preventative approach to leave for that. I believe that instead of businesses getting into squabbles because the employee or team member decided that they weren't mentally well, they can say, listen, we are going to do shorter hours so that you can have a self-care day, because that's difficult to prove. Anybody could show up and say, I'm not feeling mentally well. That is, especially where I live in the US, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, because it's something that is so intangible that can't be proven. It's like me saying I have a headache. You don't know that I have a headache. Maybe I have a headache, but me bleeding, I'm bleeding.
yeah,
So
yeah.
perhaps for me, I would be really comfortable with organizations structuring workload or work time to incorporate mental wellness, preventing burnout, and saying, hey, we can work shorter weeks, we can work shorter hours to prevent burnout. Is that something you think can work?
Absolutely. These are
Yeah.
just few ideas. So definitely we could look at that.
Yeah.
I would also dream that organizations that have lots of structure can start thinking how to the masses they can cater to understand that each one of us has a different capacity,
Yeah.
and our capacity would also govern, and would depend a lot on our supporting resources. So
Yeah.
when we hire somebody, maybe
Yeah.
assessing mental health then would be a
Yeah.
better idea.
Yeah. Having an expert in your organization who can really assess. Yeah. Because I think if you do not have a diagnosis, then it's tricky to assign days for your mental health. The structure of your organization should be one that encourages preventative care as
Absolutely.
opposed to leaving it in the hands of people who won't show up. I'm telling you, I don't know how they are in India, but I mean, I don't know. Everybody would have a mental health problem, including me.
I think at some point I agree with you, and at some point it's also alarming that we've all started coming to a stage where to easily trust somebody is hard.
Yeah.
It's
'Cause,
become.
mental health is a buzzword now, right? Everybody mental health, especially among the Gen Zs. Let's be very clear. Everybody, my mental health is this, and my mental health is that. So much so that all of a sudden, everybody now realize that they need to that mental health is a thing, which is sad because it's always been a thing, and it's not a thing to abuse. It's a real thing. So that when it's really being compromised, people have, as you said, people have to be able to trust you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that is why my last change and shift that I hope we can look at is that to not to come to the extreme side where we are not able to trust it, but we're able to take it more seriously, is that social media is really powerful. But I believe that we're over informing and overstimulating our people. We need to have people at these platforms to check in who's putting what about social, about mental health. They should be people who are practitioners and licensed,
I'm glad you
informed
brought that up.
people. I would really, it's my fantasy if somebody at social media levels could
Because
think
listen,
about.
if Meta is listening and everybody else who own these platforms, I think that's a brilliant idea. They need to have, just like how they have the DEI hires and blah blah blah, whatever you call that. We need mental health hires because the verdict. I don't want to sit here and suggest that social media is not necessarily conducive to people's mental health. I feel that we are still responsible for ourselves to a large extent. But I do believe, and I know people who claim that they've been affected by what they see on social media. Um, I feel since, you know, we have evidence, we have statistical evidence to suggest that there's some amount of burnout, there's some amount of negative impact. I believe that it's a good suggestion for platforms like Meta, Instagram, etc., to hire such a person to. I don't know what they're going to do. I haven't worked out step 1 to 10, but I think it's important that they could take responsibility for preventative something something. How does that work? What do you
See,
think?
See, for me, I know where we, even as practitioners, I would say at some extent, we're overusing social media to want to market ourselves. But that marketing, more than us, we're marketing the content.
Mhm.
And we are marketing content. So let's say what you've studied is this, or what you've studied is these many books. And I wish I could show you my messy table here. It's full of books. Out of that, I can only put this or 30 seconds on social media. And
Mhm.
somebody sees that and says, wow, that's me, and I'm going to go for therapy. And
Mhm.
you give me a diagnosis, I have ADHD. And and that's not possible. So we have that much content in our head, in our mind, in our training, and we
Mhm.
have to present it in a 30-second reel. And I feel that's unfair.
Yeah.
Even we as practitioners to market ourselves
Yeah.
have some responsibility
Yeah.
We don't know how the other will perceive it, what they'll take from that. That
Yeah.
is our decision and step. And to the viewers who receive, I
Yeah.
really believe that there is so much content on social media
Yeah.
that it's so confusing. On one
Yeah.
second you think you have an illness here, and the
Yeah.
other second you feel, oh, I also got this. Oh, am I crazy? And I fully support that we're competing every
Yeah.
day for attention to realize what's wrong with me.
But but Sanjoni, I actually know people who experience mental challenges from people's 1 minute 30-second reel of their life. And that's what they blame social media for. And I think that I don't know that I blame social media for that,
I
because
don't
people
think,
don't show you the hard sides
yeah,
of their journey. They show you when they make it. They're never gonna
yeah,
put when they only had $5 in their bank account, or when, well, rarely they do that, or when they thought of giving up, or but people blame social media for that, and that's when I say stop, because that's somebody's 1 minute 30-second reel of what's unreal.
yeah. So, social media is a great marketing tool. I'm not against it. I'm very happy. Like I said, we need to take space, and that's one of the spaces at least women can also start taking to market
Yeah.
what they're good at and skilled at. So,
Yeah.
great platform, great cause. It brings people together.
Yeah.
I'm saying certain regulations need to be executed, at least in
Yeah.
this field, perhaps to also understand that right now we've idealized social media,
Yeah.
and anything you idealize, you'll also start devaluing it at some level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah. I think it's the way you're perceiving or receiving or processing what you're consuming, because you can choose what you consume on social media. Um, my algorithm is set up that a lot of manifestations and inspiration type videos come to me. I don't really see people with their Birkin bag and jets really on social media. That's not, my algorithm is not set up for that, you know? So
Yeah.
I think therapists like yourself could create reels on such platforms to help people decide what they consume. I think it's about consumption, not about
It
what
is.
social media is doing, because it's really worked for my business and I just use it for that. You're not going to see what I ate tonight. You don't need to see the plate of food I just had, you know,
Yeah.
unless, of course, I'm marketing food. Let's go to my last stat here. I want to discuss this. It says 1 in 4, which is 25% adults with any mental health illness, reported an unmet need for mental health treatment in 2022 and 2023. Now, this is very sad. Um, you know, um, this is sad, but there are people listening right now who may want to try therapy, but still uncertain. They're still uncertain, or they're fearful, or as you said earlier in this episode, they're ashamed of being judged. What advice do you have for that listener, that viewer? What's the next step?
Yeah. Uh, when we go to the first doctor for a physical injury,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes some of us get help immediately.
Yeah.
And some of us don't find that the doctors heard us enough. I wanted to say maybe a little more about, what happened and the doctor shut
Yeah.
me, or the medicines they gave me, they trusted a certain salt or brand and I did the other.
Yeah.
And we continue to find another physical doctor for our physical needs and injury. I just want to say that the hesitancy with mental health is understandable. That to go sit in a room for the time frame that your therapist decides to work and hold space for the two of you and keep yourself vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
it is risky. So I do understand when you choose to say, should I see this person
Yeah.
and go ask for help,
Yeah.
also putting myself out there to this person,
Yeah.
and myself, I am choosing to be naked in front of them.
Yeah.
And that is risky. It can be alarming. It can shake a lot of beliefs. It can challenge a lot of norms that we've grown up with. Um,
So what can you tell them so that they know that their life depends on this decision?
so I don't have a perfect answer. That's number one. I
Yeah.
don't have anything that I'm going to draw you and say, just go for therapy and everything will get solved. May not.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that if you don't take the risk, we don't know if that's the one that's helpful for us or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't experiment with a certain kind of therapist, we don't know
Mm-hmm.
if she or he worked or their therapy technique worked or not,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
would tell them when recently, and this is recently from my own therapy room, um, we were at the loss of words at helping somebody, and the only thing, Basha, that helped is that that person just took a chance,
Yes.
midnight, late at night, reached out, and they're alive today because they reaching out shows care.
Yeah.
um, and all we could do is tell them just one thing, that like I'm telling you here, we may not have answers day one.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you're going through a hard time, but I'm willing to sit through till you
Yeah.
start feeling a little better.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
I'm willing to connect.
Yeah.
I've got the patience to hear whatever puts you down.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, in my experience is that there are a lot of people who can afford therapy, but they don't want to go to get professional help. They rather talk to a friend or somebody who does not have one, the time or the capacity or professional skill to help them, but yet they would rather pour that on someone who cannot process that in the right way to make it a constructive exercise, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really sad. But one question before we change gear, because we're about to go into our pepper pot section, which just to lighten up things around here. But I just wondered, do you think that schools and maybe some organizations should make therapy mandatory? How do you feel about that?
Yes, we do have in India. We do have that schools have to hire a psychologist or a therapist. It's mandatory. However, I do agree that having child psychologists
Hmm.
um, in schools for and also enough number of child psychologists, not just having any one for the whole school, not enough. Having enough child psychologists in schools, in other areas, having even organizations like multinational companies having therapists on board
Yeah.
um, can be very helpful, can be very productive, even for them, for the individual, and for the larger community.
Yeah.
It allows more people and more number of psychologists to come in role. That is one.
Hmm.
um, because I know at least here in India we've started struggling with saying that, oh, somebody recommended a therapist, and they have a wait list for 3 months, we don't have slots to go through them, what do we do?
Yeah.
So that gives, at many developmental years and junctures, you have enough people that you will start connecting with to know that I can go back to them maybe.
Yeah.
That is one. And I also find and feel that just as a small organization, just as one school community, it
Hmm.
allows us to really build something which has both, something that people go through. Like,
Yeah.
in a school, we have children, like I talked about power dynamics, and then you have parent community, you have teachers as a community.
Yeah.
Therapists can help to bridge gap between all three. And imagine that happening in one place.
Yeah.
That'll be beautiful.
Wow. We've gone an hour and we haven't taken a break. But before we take a break, we're going to come back with our pepper pot section after the break. But I want to ask you one more thing because I feel this needs to happen. I think that unless we're referring, and even if they have to remove it altogether from the English vocabulary, but we should take the word crazy out of the vocabulary. Because we can use, I was going to say, maybe they should leave it if somebody's driving crazy, but we can use reckless. But we need to remove the word crazy because that's what messed this whole thing up. Those are my thoughts.
I'm worried that we take the word crazy out and we'll soon jump into another word that replaces that.
Wow.
So
We are that sick, I see. On that note, we'll take a break. We'll take a break, guys. I'm sorry, producers. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
This segment is brought to you by 124 Not Out Cricket Academy, based in Georgia and Florida, USA.
All right, guys. If you've been enjoying this episode with Sanjoni Sethi, clinical psychologist, all the way from India, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see more episodes like this one. I have been enjoying it. I've learned a lot, and I hope you have as well. Don't forget to follow us both on Instagram, social media. Sanjoni, this has been really enlightening for me. And I think that I have no words to describe. It's like I went down memory lane, and there's some things that I've probably never said on this podcast before because I'm not an expert at mental health. So I'm always very cautious. But I think we have more to unpack in the coming months. And, I'd be happy to continue that side of the discussion. But for now, we're going to lighten things up.
yes.
We're going to lighten things up. We're going to go into what we like to call a pepper pot section. Where's my graphics? Pepper pot.
It's getting hot. We drop you in the pepper pot.
Okay, so this is a little fun. We want to lighten it up and take care of our mental health. Actually, this is how we take care of our mental health around here with our guests with a little pepper pot. So I promise you no hard questions, just really sweet questions. So my first question to you, and you need to give me very short answers when necessary, but one word in most cases. What's the first word that comes to mind when you hear therapy?
Safety.
Coffee, tea, or meditation? What gets you through a long day?
Meditation.
One myth about therapy you wish you could erase forever.
Therapy is an expensive cost.
True. Yeah, I agree with that. What's something small that instantly boosts your mood?
Dogs.
Ah, for me, it's basil. If you weren't a psychologist, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
Dancer.
Yeah, wow. One book or quote that had a big impact on how you see healing.
It's Irvin Yalom's book, The Gift of Therapy, and it says, it's the relationship that heals. It's the relationship that heals. It's the relationship that heals.
Amazing. Okay, my next question. What's a cultural belief about emotions you'd love to rewrite?
Emotions are negative and positive. Emotions like anger not to be felt. Feel all your emotions.
Interesting. Do you ever apply your own therapy advice to yourself, and does it work?
Can't do without it.
In one word, what does healing mean to you?
Connecting to the suppressed and hidden parts of myself.
Fair enough. What's one simple practice everyone can do daily to support their mental well-being? Last question.
I can tell you what I do. Each one would have their own. I read.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the sun. I love nature, and I figure out the kind of music that allows me to sit with my body. And I use a lot of breath and body connection in the first thing in the morning. I use breath and body, no phone, no conversation, no nothing, no people.
Yeah.
Sun, nature, breath and body. And
Yeah.
that's how I start my day.
Breath work, very important. That's been very significant for me as well. I really underestimated the power of breathing.
Just this aligns the whole system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing that I was late to the party for, but I'm there now. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So Pepper Pot is finished, but we have one more question that we ask all our guests from here on. And it's called last question.
Okay.
Question is asked to everyone on this show. Is there one thing, I should say, if there's one thing you could change about the world, what would it be?
Loneliness. I would encourage people to trust in people, self, community, places, animals. Connection is what I want to believe people can start rebuilding.
Yeah, I like that. I wasn't expecting that one, but then it really applies to. They've said that loneliness is also connected to the rising rates of dementia and Alzheimer's. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Basha, I'm just going to add here that one of my very, very, I adore her, I admire her. One of my supervisors taught me very early in my practice. A child in a school can survive with one healthy peer.
Mm-hmm.
A child at a home can survive with one healthy adult, safe adult. Imagine relationship and connection can allow you to hold yourself. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can revisit that.
But
Something is changing in people.
it's the world has changed, and we started off with community. The importance of communities sort of shifted for a lot of people. I don't know where the distrust came from, but most people don't seem to need anybody until they need them. You know,
Yeah.
um, today's episode was truly special for me. It was very different. I want to thank you, Sanjoni. I hope my producers will put you back on the screen. I want to thank you for agreeing to do this with me, for taking a chance with Basia TV Podcast. You've done brilliant work in India, and I know you'll continue to do brilliant work. Thank you for unpacking such a difficult topic, something that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, but they're really very willing to tell you they're protecting their mental health. Let's hear about what it is. What is your mental health situation? What is it? I'll end by saying I'll see you soon. And to all our viewers and listeners around the world, thank you for choosing Basia TV Podcast. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Follow us on Instagram. Follow Sanjoni Sethi on Instagram. And if this podcast impacted you in some way positively, we'd love to hear from you. We would love your feedback. Your You mean a lot to us as a subscriber. I want to remind you that nothing changes until you move. So whatever you're going through, you're going to keep going through it until you move. It's your girl Basha. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers. Bye. Basia TV Podcast was created by Basia Alicia Powell, hosted by Basia Alicia Powell, executive producer Basia Alicia Powell, producers Delicia Winnell, Alicia Bazin, creative Basia TV Productions LLC Carver Consulting, music, all rights reserved to Basia Alicia Powell and Ricardo Powell. Editors Basia Alicia Powell, Delicia Winnell. Visual effects Basia TV Productions LLC and RJ Powell. Music composer Basia TV Productions, all rights reserved. Guest bookings Carver Consulting, legal consultant Alicia Bazin. Special thanks